Moi, c'est Jean-Enoch Bruni, pasteur de la première église de Dieu de West Palm Beach, First Haitian Church of God of West Palm Beach. L'aime la caille moi chaque jeudi et chaque vendredi, commencer 8h pour 9h dans la soirée, c'est Connexion Plus, moi branché. Moi recommandé fortement pour capable brancher tout Connexion Plus avec pasteur Benjamin chaque jeudi et chaque vendredi, sorti 8h pour arriver 9h. Que mon Dieu bénisse.
Ou même qui c'est ouvrier CEA ou qui aspire à faire ministère dans l'église locale, moi gen bon jan nouvelle pour. MISED, Mathetes Institute School of Evangelism and Discipleship, a offrir une série de diplômes spécialisés dans discipline takou, leadership l'église, éducation chrétienne, évangélisation, apologétique chrétienne, interpréter la Bible, counseling familial, présentation études bibliques, Ancien ak Nouveau Testament, nan souci pour bien équiper ouvrier cap fait ministère ou qui vle faire ministère l'église ak yon dynamique sans pareil. Nan MISED, nous fait l'école yon l'autre gens et nous croyons tout le monde ka apprendre et tout le monde doit bien apprendre pour faire ministère saint avancer. N'a invité tout chrétien haïtien tout côté sous la terre. Vin étudier Bibla dans bon timamite ak yon équipe professeur qui non seulement gagne maîtrise pour pipiti, mais qui chargé ak expérience dans affaires enseignement. C'est un programme hybride qu'a fait en direct une fois par semaine sur une plateforme tant que Zoom, Team, Google Meet et puis tout chaque étudiant a bien un tableau de bord pour le bambiler et faire devoir quiz ak examen. C'est là tout, y a bien accès à tout document et ressources pour tout couillot. En plus, document principal chaque grain coup. Kounuyo a fait en créole ak en français et très bientôt en anglais pendant 12 grains mois seulement. Qui pi bel cadeau qu'a offri tout ak ministère bon Dieu que préparé pour servir royaume Christ là ak excellence et ak passion. Pour inscrire au MISED et joindre plus de détails ak information, seulement taper mathetesinstitute.com. Youn di lot, MISED, une école pour étudier la Bible avec excellence et passion. Nouvelle session.
Moi-même, Césaire, depuis jeudi, vendredi, 8h arrivé, je vais faire l'autre bagaille que garder Connexion Plus. C'est chita pour me garder Pasteur Benjamin. Connexion Plus.
Yon nan pi gros cadeau yon moun ka bay tête li c'est l'el prend service nan yon professionnel là. Dans ce sens là, si ou nan Florida ou bien dans quel que soit l'autre état yo, m'a préféré un Stallone Anilis qui nan tête Stallone Multi Services qui gen plus passé 10 l'année depuis la bay communauté à service avec un pile courtoisie. Quel que soit service ou besoin dans affaires immigration tant que résidence, TPS, asile, citizenship, carte travail la trier, c'est sans problème. Ou besoin de traduire un document dans quel que soit langue nan, notarier en papier, appliqué pour food stamp avec un pile l'autre service encore, relais Stallone dans 561 971 95 79. Stallone Multi Services en chita dans deux adresses 5700 Lequef Road, suite 310-3, Green Acres, Florida 33463. Deuxième location c'est dans 500 South Australian Avenue, suite 524 West Palm Beach, Florida 33401 dans Downtown West Palm Beach. Relais pour un rendez-vous dans 561 971 95 79 ou bien visitez website business plan pour plus d'informations sur www.talonmservices.com.
Non, moi, c'est Nicole Alexis. Moi, sorti New York. Chaque jeudi, chaque vendredi à 8h, 9h, moi branché Connexion Plus. Connexion Plus, c'est moi-même, c'est vous-même, c'est...
Good evening. I'm Pastor Raymond Benjamin who welcomes you to Connexion Plus. Thank you for tuning in. The topic for tonight is entitled, How to Avoid Missing Your Future. We have a great panel tonight whose names are Miss LORDIE, CELUNICE, Mr. JEACOMA, Mr. Jerry Williams III, and we have Mr. Vladimir CELUNICE, and your servant, Pastor Raymond Benjamin. Moi, bienvenue dans la connexion plus à soya. Nous avons un sujet qui est très important, c'est comment on éviter pas gâter demain. Et nous avons un panel de 4 personnes, de 5 personnes. Nous voulons parler bien sûr de Miss LORDIE, qui c'est un professionnel administratif. Nous gagnons Mr. Andrew JEACOMA, c'est un defense lawyer. Et Mr. Jerry Williams III, c'est un defense lawyer tout. Et nous gagnons aussi Monsieur Vladimir CELUNICE, c'est un prosécuteur et serviteur pasteur Benjamin. Et welcome. I'm honored to introduce you to the co-host for tonight, whose name is LORDIE. Welcome. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Pastor. Thank you for having me again. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Jerry. Thank you for coming on. So we're actually just going to go ahead and jump right in. If you guys could tell us a little bit about yourself. Andrew, go first.
Absolutely. My name is Andrew JEACOMA. I am a defense attorney here in Palm Beach County. I work for the 15th Judicial Circuit. I have a pug, love him to death. I love sushi, long walks on the beach, and the simple things,
Right.
But I'm happy to be here. Ben is a great man, great mentor, and he's been a pleasure to work with these last up to a year, I think now. So that's all I have for now.
Awesome.
I'm Jerry Williams III, the defense attorney of the 15th District out of Miami, Florida. I love the beach as well, and I love great food.
Being in Palm Beach, you kind of just have to love the beach, right?
It's actually a requirement. They don't let you move here without having some kind of appreciation for the beach. So I passed the test.
I understand that. And then Vladimir, if you don't mind introducing yourself again.
I'm gonna keep it short. Vladimir CELUNICE, friend of the show. I've been here. I've been on the show before. Love being invited here. If you've watched the show before, you know I'm a prosecutor with the 15th Judicial Circuit. LORDIE's my wife, if you guys didn't know. Yeah.
The cat's out of the bag.
The cat's out of the bag. And I don't think there's anything too exciting about me, aside from the fact that I guess I'm a God-fearing man, and I love my family. So that's pretty much it. That's me in a nutshell.
Awesome. So guys, I'm just gonna go ahead and jump in with our questions. So being public defender, you guys are tasked with defending the public. So a lot of times it's people who can't afford attorneys for themselves. You guys come in and stand up for them, right? So with that, what are some of the most cases you guys are seeing across your desk right now?
So from my perspective, the main thing in county court you see is a lot of, and that's misdemeanor court, right? So not felonies, the smaller, quote unquote, smaller things. A lot of driving with suspended licenses, trespass after warning, some DUIs. As LORDIE mentioned, it's defending the public, right? But we actually defend the indigent, right? The poor, people that can't afford a lawyer. So we see crimes that typically happen to those that are homeless, right? That don't have what you could call the traditional upbringing. And these things, it's a question whether or not it's crimes that probably wouldn't be prosecuted if it were someone that had money and had a car, again, trespass in city parks, right? Open containers, these kind of crimes. So we see a lot of that. That's a vast majority of what we deal with on a daily basis. And Jerry, I'm sure you have seen the same thing, right?
Yeah, trespassing, no licenses, unable to pay the fines, getting behind on the fines, and stuff. If you have money, you'll be able to take care of it. Crimes that affect the poor, like back in Andrew. I can agree with that.
As far as for me, at the county court level, being a prosecutor, we see all of it. So we see the cases that the public defenders will try and the private attorneys will try as well. There's not a real trend. All the cases that we see, for the most part, are misdemeanors. And if we're talking volume, maybe the most cases we see might be like a no valid or a suspended driver's license. And a lot of what Jerry and Andrew just said is true. Like if you go back, you look at criminal history, or you just look at the client when they're in court, you can kind of tell from their criminal history and just looking at them, and then they do a great job of letting us know some of the background of the defendant, and you can kind of just tell some of their struggles. And some of the things that they do deal with is because of just the start that they had in life.
So with that, are there any specific behaviors or actions that are leading to these repeated offenses?
So I think the biggest thing is actually inaction, right? We see a lot of the times the system is set up to prevent these people from actually finding the right path, right? Whether it be welfare, whether it be programs set up, whether it be housing or jobs, the system is set up, in my opinion, from my experience, to keep them down. And I think that is they're a victim of their environment, right? I don't think they really do anything that is making it worse. I think the system is set up to prevent them from getting better. Right. And that goes to infrastructure and how can we change that. It's probably longer than this podcast could handle, but I think, in my opinion, that's probably the biggest thing is this inaction, whether it be by government, by police, by taxpayers. I'm not sure, but that's really this recidivism, if you want to call it that, is due to the circumstances and the environment they're in.
So coming from that question, right, this one is going to be for you, Jerry. I feel like a lot of these homeless people or people who end up going through this homeless situation, they didn't have the chance to maybe fight for a better life, or maybe somewhere along they went wrong, right? So what would you say to parents trying to avoid their kids from messing up their lives and ending up in these cases where they're using welfare, they're in these systems that are holding them down?
I'll just say don't give up on your kid. When your kid reaches 18, he's still a kid. When your kid reaches 25, they're still kids. When your kids are 28, they're still kids. So if you feel like they're going down the wrong path, and they might have at certain times, if you still support your kid through it all, they'll eventually come back home, and they'll eventually get back on the right path, and eventually know they have someone to come home to. Because we all need a home. There's always a place that we need to run to.
I appreciate that answer. Do you have a perspective on that?
I guess me, from where I'm seeing it, from my angle, the role that I play when a defendant, when a case hits my desk, is I'm looking at victims, I'm looking at the type of offense, I'm looking at the police report to kind of get a sense of what this person did on that particular day. And then I'm looking at criminal history, and I'll call the victim too. I'll talk to the victim, and I'm trying to get a holistic perspective of what exactly is going on. Why is this person doing what they did, and why did they do what they did? And then after I've done that, I got to put my prosecutor hat on, and I got to figure out how do we remedy this situation. First and foremost, I got to look at punishment. It's a deterrence. What can I do to make sure that this person is held accountable for what they did? And then second, I got to look at the victim. If there is a victim in this case, if the victim is Palm Beach County, I got to look at what can I do to make the victim whole. Sometimes it's just that this person has to sit down for a while and kind of think about what it is that they did. And I've never been to jail, but I hear it's not the best environment. And I feel like some time in jail kind of sometimes helps you get a different outlook on things. And then third, I look at the defendant. I look at what kind of programs do we have out there to help them as far as being on a path of rehabilitation. What kind of measures can we take to help them not offend? So I look at it in three folds. The punishment is a form of deterrence for them to say, man, I don't like jail. I don't want to go to jail anymore. I don't like being away from my family. And then obviously, like I said, I try to make sure the victim is involved and feels like they're being heard and, taken care of. And then third, I want to hear from the defendant. Obviously, I can't talk to them directly. So a lot of times I like to hear from their defense attorney, who's, that's their advocate. And they're the ones that'll tell me this person's dealing with this person has this going on. And I take that into perspective. And if there's something out there that I can offer them to help them remedy what the root cause or root issue is, then I offer that. And it's up to them to take advantage of it.
Okay, if I may. So a few things. The one thing that kind of stuck with me is this idea of punishment, right? We have statistics. We know for a fact that punishment is not as good of a deterrent as rehabilitation. Or maybe a deterrent, but is the wrong way to say it. But we look at places like Norway, Sweden, right? European countries that don't have the death penalty, right? The maximum punishment is 25 years for serious crimes, and we see dramatically lower percentages of crimes committed by the people. I think the real issue should be developing an infrastructure where these people don't fall into these ruts, right? Kind of back to your question, how do we have, what's some proper procedure? How do you be a parent and have kids that grow up to be model citizens, right? And I, as a defense attorney, and Jerry as well, we go to the jail, right? We see our clients, and I could tell you right now, the jail, it's not a place for rehabilitation. It's not a place that gets people better. It makes it worse, dramatically worse. They're in harsh conditions. They're getting, it would be generous to say edible food. It's a very, very stark difference from what you would imagine normal facilities to be like for someone to live, right? And they're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week until they get out. And then we wonder why when they get out, they commit crimes, because we put them in a place where that's all they're surrounded with, right? That's all they see, that's all they hear, that's all they eat. And that is their life. They get back into normal general life, and what do, right? They revert back to this normal feeling of where they just came from. So we're I can't speak for Jerry, but I'm in the position of punishment should be the last resort. I think we should look first towards the defendant. How can we get them better? What services can we provide them? Or more importantly, what services have they not gotten to this point? And let's talk about building it from the ground up. And if punishment is the only option, then I guess that's an avenue we explore. But as defense attorneys, we try as hard as we can to make sure the client comes first. And if anything after that needs to be done, obviously we go to that point. But we try to do client-focused representation. Always, they are our number one priority, and we want to make sure that they're out with their families, with their kids, their loved ones, their dogs. I'm a dog person, as you know. So that's really, not to rebuttal what you said. I just wanted to at least, say some things, it's a very, it's what we do every day, right? It's a passion, and it's hard to disconnect from that passion and feel, when you leave work, it goes with you, right? So that's it. That's all I got, yeah.
So something our audience will closely relate to is being immigrants. As an immigrant, a lot of times the biggest thing is to get here, get somewhere safe, right? And a lot of us is to get to the States. So once they get to the States, some of these young people don't have family. They just kind of like, hey, I managed to get here, whether legally or illegally, right? They get here, but once they're here, they don't know the law of the land. And some of them are on their own. They don't have the parents who are here who could kind of build a framework for them to understand, hey, you don't do this or don't do this. So speaking to those people, what can you tell them to say, hey, don't come here to the land of the free and mess up your life? How can they avoid that? What are some things you feel like should be said to them?
I guess the first thing would be, it's difficult, right? Because every person's different. Every situation is different. Every cop is different, right? And we're talking about messing up your life. I suppose that goes towards law enforcement, criminal implications, right? So it's no surprise. America has systemic racism, right? It's been here for a long time. Cops profile, cops judge before knowing the facts. And we see a lot of problems with that, right? And as a white man, I don't know what it's like to experience that. So it's difficult for me to put myself exactly in their shoes and understand what it's like to be profiled, right? What it's like to be looked at by a cop when you're going down the street to get groceries, doing nothing wrong, but automatically they assume you are. So, I would say really just be wise and don't be fooled by a badge and a nice suit and think they're there to help you. In my opinion, they're not, right? In my opinion, the cops that I see, the clients that I have that get into trouble, they trust law enforcement too much and they get into a mindset of they're there to protect me. Let me make sure that I, give them everything and anything, right? And you could false confessions. You can get yourself into trouble. You could say things that you don't need to say. They could take your friendliness as a sign of guilt, right? Why are they being too friendly? What's going on here, right? So it's a hard question to answer, and there's a lot going on there. I think the main thing is to be wise and to not don't fall victim to the idea that these things, this law enforcement is really is there to protect. They're there more to enforce, right? Truly to enforce. So that's my best word of advice in a small 35, 40-second snippet. So. Yeah.
So another thing, like being from an immigrant family, I think there is a lot of fear around our police officers, and I don't know if the fear is necessarily from racism, more so like even if they're legal here, there's this kind of hidden fear, like they're gonna send me back, right? And so they're always walking in this fear. So the fact that you're saying that the officer is here to enforce.
Correct.
Right. So if you're not doing anything wrong and you don't look like you're doing anything wrong and maybe you don't smell like you're doing anything wrong, you can avoid that trouble by being wise. So doing your best to avoid.
Correct. Correct. And even with, you do nothing wrong, you seem fine, false identification, right? It happens. I mean, I can't give a number out, but I know that there is false identification. Things happen, right? So, if you were to fall into a situation where you feel like, I'm not sure what to do, the best bet would be to consult a lawyer. Again, we work for the public defender's office, whether it be our office or a private attorney. When in doubt, consult a lawyer, trust a lawyer, whether it be for immigration purposes, civil, right, not criminal, or even criminal. It's always better to give it to the hands of somebody who has, gone through the education and the process of getting barred and knows what to say, what not to say, and let them take care of the brunt of the work, right? Because that's where people get in trouble. They think they can do it themselves, and realistically, it's not as easy as it may seem. So.
And don't say anything at all. Keep quiet.
So Sally D says, si o police jom pran, just pas di rien, kebe vous choupene. That's safer than saying something. Comme de pièces question, just un avocat parler avec police là.
Okay. Is it the original question about immigrants?
Yeah.
So as far as that, I could say like the fear that you're talking about, I've seen it. I can recall a story like when I was in high school. I just got home from practice, and on my way home from practice, there were like cops in the neighborhood. In this neighborhood, it wasn't a bad neighborhood at all, and but it was next to some, it's surrounded by, but I saw them and I didn't think anything of it. Being that I'm born here, I'm a Haitian kid, but I'm an American kid at the same time. So I didn't think anything of it. All I know is I didn't do anything, so they don't want nothing with me. I made it home, and I saw that it was late, and I was like, my dad's not home yet. What's going on with my dad? So I called him, and I'm like, where are you? And he's like, man, there's a bunch of police in front of the neighborhood. I'm not coming home right now. I'm like, what do you mean you're not coming home? He's like, yeah, it's a bunch of them. I said, man, come home.
Yeah.
She didn't do nothing.
You have your
Go
papers.
You're citizen, come home. And I just remember that, and just you saying that brought me back to that. There is a sense of fear there, at least for that generation. Our generation, I would say, like first generation Haitian American, that fear is not there. And it's almost, we have the same plight as, any black person growing up in America. But if I was a defense attorney, of course I'd tell my client, hey, you get pulled over, don't talk to him. But being that I'm a prosecutor, if you are pulled over or something does happen, you can dispel the officer's concern. Hey, what are you like? For instance, let's say you're parked in this parking space. It's late night. The business you're in front of is closed, and they ask you, "Hey, what are you doing here?" They can ask you what you're doing here. The business is closed. It's night, and you're just parked there. You can dispel their concern. Hey, I'm on the phone. Hey, I'm on the GPS. Whatever it is that you're doing, you can dispel their concern and say, I'm not doing whatever you think I'm doing. If you feel more comfortable with me leaving, I'll leave if that's what the problem is. There's ways to avoid certain issues. And I'm just coming from that perspective. As far as law enforcement in their role, they are called law enforcement, but everyone knows the old adage is to protect and serve. And honestly, when I see law enforcement, when I see a police officer, the only time I tense up is if I'm speeding or something. It's like, oh crap, I'm speeding. I know I'm doing something wrong, but on a daily basis, if I walk into a Chipotle and I see an officer, I'm not freaking out. They're there to protect and serve. If anything, if I walk into a Chipotle and I see an officer, I might feel even more secure. I know there's an officer here. I know if someone's coming in to do something, they'll think twice because there's an officer there. So I don't have and I don't share that same feeling as some people may share as far as they're not here to protect and serve. They're not here to, they're really here to do more harm than help. I don't share that sentiment.
I can say one quick thing. So as Vladimir mentioned that if a cop comes to you and is questioning you as to why you're in a park and you can dispel their fears, the same token, you do not have to dispel their fears, right? I mean, be very clear on this. If a cop comes to you and asks you questions, you don't have to answer anything, right? And that could be your answer. I'm not answering any questions. And that's it. So there's no requirement that you speak to an officer. If they tell you you're under arrest, same answer. I'm not answering any questions. And this is not legal advice. I'm just telling you from what we deal with on a daily basis that people feel like they have to talk to an officer or they have to dispel this fear or they have to make the officer feel like everything's okay. That is a fallacy, okay? You have to be very aware of the fact that, you have rights and the Constitution, the Bill of Rights protects every citizen or even non-citizen, right? If you're here in America, you have constitutional rights. And I would recommend reading the Bill of Rights and going through and seeing each and every one and how it applies, right? And Vladimir, obviously we are on the opposite sides of the aisle, so we have very differing viewpoints, and I respect his position, absolutely. But there are some things that we see that clients of ours fall victim to, and that is really one of them, that they feel like, let me talk to the cop, I'm gonna make them feel okay. In reality, you're digging yourself deeper, so.
Because in all actuality, Vladimir has the power as a prosecutor. The cop is not going to lighten your sentence. So when the cop mentions, I'll make your sentence lighter, he doesn't have the power to lighten your sentence. That's the Vladimir's job. That's the job of the prosecutor.
Correct.
And I would say too, just piggybacking off of what Jerry just said, if a case hits my desk and I know there's something wrong here, maybe officer didn't follow proper procedures, or there's really nothing here, then I do what I need to do accordingly. And every case is different, and you have to approach every case different. And what I was just talking about as far as dispelling concerns from police officers, Andrew's, he's right. You don't necessarily have to talk to a police officer, but I kind of want to get into, I guess, law,
right,
as far as saying, like, there is a situation where you might be trespassing, especially if there's a visible sign that says, if you're here after these hours, you're trespassing. And then that would mean that that officer does have every right to ask you what you're doing here. And you might not have to answer them, but you do have to leave. So I do want everyone to understand their rights and to exercise their rights. But I do want you to understand certain things can be avoided if you just, hey, this is what I'm here for, or hey, if you want me to leave, I'll leave. Am I not under arrest? There's certain things where you don't have to fight tooth and nail. And you don't have to fight tooth and nail for a right that you know you have. It's reserved. It's for you. Because you fighting tooth and nail for that right can lead to other things. That's when you get your resistance. That's when you get maybe there's something is in the car, and then it just you're in a rabbit hole.
Right.
So sometimes it's not worth that fight. And I've had instances where, high school kid, you get pulled over. It's like, let me search your car. I know he can't search my car, but it's like, go ahead and search my car. And if I knew what I knew now, I'd say no, you can't search my car.
Right.
Leave. And you have that right. You have the right to do that. But what I'm getting at is
not just drive away and leave.
No,
right?
Right. Of course. Yeah. No. Of course.
Very specific.
Yeah.
So like, I don't have to answer you to drive off.
That's not a right you have. Yeah.
Right.
No,
I don't have to answer you, sir. Can I leave?
Yeah.
Am I
Let's be
under arrest?
clear.
No, I'm not under arrest. What you pull me over for? If you're gonna give me a citation, give me my citation.
Right.
I'll be on my way.
Yeah.
Those kind of things. I do want you, because I'm all about the interest of justice. That's what it's all about. The Constitution gives us our jobs, so that's what I'm about. And if exercising your rights to a certain degree will get you into more trouble than you need to be in, and trouble that will probably stick, then you got to ask yourself the question, was that worth it? If you can protect your rights and keep yourself from falling into certain traps, I believe you should do so.
All right. Not to cut it off. The conversation is really good. I think we're really blessed that we have both sides of the table here, and we get to kind of pick everybody's brain. I enjoy that. But we are going to have to go ahead and take a quick break, and then we'll be right back. Please don't leave. Stick around so we can finish this conversation.
Moi, c'est Jean-Enoch Bruni, pasteur de la première église de Dieu de West Palm Beach, First Haitian Church of God of West Palm Beach. Lem la kay moi chaque jeudi et chaque vendredi, commencer 8h pour 9h dans soir, c'est Connexion Plus moi branché. Moi recommander fortement pour capable brancher tout Connexion Plus avec pasteur Benjamin chaque jeudi et chaque vendredi, sorti 8h pour arriver 9h. Que bon Dieu bénisse.
Ou même qui c'est ouvrier CEA ou qui aspire à faire ministère dans l'église locale, moi gen bon jan nouvelle pour. MISED, Mathetes Institute School of Evangelism and Discipleship, a offrir yon série diplôme spécialisé dans discipline tankou, leadership l'église, éducation chrétienne, évangélisation, apologétique chrétienne, interpréter la Bible, counseling familial, présentation études bibliques, Ancien ak Nouveau Testament, nan souci pour bien équiper ouvrier kap fait ministère ou qui vle fait ministère l'église ak yon dynamique sans pareil. Nan MISED, nous fait l'école yon l'autre gens et nous croyons tout le monde ka apprendre et tout le monde doit bien apprendre pour faire ministère saint avancer. N'a invité tout chrétien haïtien tout côté sous la terre. Vin étudier Bibla dans bon timamite ak yon équipe professeur qui non seulement gagne maîtrise pour pipiti, mais qui chargé ak expérience dans affaires enseignement. C'est un programme hybride qu'a fait en direct yon fois par semaine sur une plateforme tant que Zoom, Team, Google Meet, et puis tout chaque étudiant a bien un tableau de bord pour le bambiler et faire devoir, quiz ak examen. C'est là tout, y a bien accès à tout document et ressources pour tout kouyo. En plus, document principal chaque grain coup. Kouyo a fait en créole ak en français et très bientôt en anglais pendant 12 grains mois seulement. Qui pi bel cadeau qu'a offri tout ak ministère bon Dieu que préparé pour servir royaume Christ là ak excellence et ak passion. Pour inscrire au MISED et joindre plus de détails ak information, seulement taper mathetesinstitute.com. Youn di lot, MISED, une école pour étudier la Bible avec excellence et passion. Nouvelle session.
Moi-même Césaire, depuis jeudi, vendredi 8h arrivé, je vais faire l'autre bagaille que garder Connexion Plus. C'est chita pour me garder pasteur Benjamin. Connexion Plus.
Yon nan pi gros cadeau yon moun ka bay tête li c'est l'el prend service nan yon professionnel la. Nan sens ça, si ou nan Florida ou bien dans quel que soit l'autre état yo, m'a préféré un Stallone Anilis qui nan tête Stallone Multi Services qui gen plus passé 10 l'année depuis la bay communauté à service avec un pile courtoisie. Quel que soit service ou besoin dans affaires immigration tant que résidence, TPS, asile, citizenship, carte travail la trier, c'est sans problème. Ou besoin de traduire un document dans quel que soit langue nan, notarié en papier, appliqué pour food stamp avec un pile l'autre service encore, relais Stallone dans 561 971 95 79. Stallone Multi Services en Chita dans deux adresses 5700 Lequef Road, suite 310-3, Green Acres, Florida 33463. Deuxième location c'est dans 500 South Australian Avenue, suite 524 West Palm Beach, Florida 33401 dans downtown West Palm Beach.
Welcome back, welcome back. I still have with me Andrew, Jerry, and Vladimir, both sides of the defense table. And our question or our topic today was how to avoid messing up your life. And based on where we left off, it seems like it's very important to familiarize yourself with the law, understanding. How would you recommend? What are some ways people can go about doing that for themselves without having to go to law school, basically?
Yeah, I thought I knew enough of the law before I went to law school. Even when I graduated law school, I thought I knew a lot. Or even when I passed the bar, I thought I knew a lot. It really took me some time in court and seeing these common things coming back and forth and practice, right? Like, how is it really done? It's one thing to read a case and to know the case law and to know the actual law itself, but to see how a judge will rule, right? Or how a state attorney is going to come out in rebuttal, or how a plea offer is going to look. It's all very fluid. So to answer your question, it's really hard because I'm still learning, right? I'm still learning every day, and that's why I love this job. Is it's so dynamic and it's a moving target. You never really, in my opinion, humbly, you don't get a full grasp of it because it's always changing, right? You have the Supreme Court turning over cases or granting cases, and it's a very dynamic field. So trust an attorney. Hire a really good attorney. Hopefully you don't need one, but delegate, right? When you have problems or you have issues, don't be in this mindset of, I can go online and look up the law, because in practice, it may be completely different, right? And when you actually go to court and you're trying to put it into, this very specific, important time of your life, it can mean, freedom or not. So I would say trust an attorney, trust the judgment of who you have, and fingers crossed, send it,
I'll pass.
As far as learning the law or keeping yourself up to date on the law, like Andrew just said, it's dynamic. It's always changing, and all you can do is just follow that stuff. And I think the no valid law is changing. The no valid in the U.S. law is changing. Not to kind of get into the weeds, but the way no valid driver's license in the U.S. work is when you get a certain number of them, each one separately, you have to do a minimum 10 days jail, or you get tagged as a habitualized offender, traffic offender. And it used to be that they only counted the suspended licenses, but now they're going to start counting no valids.
Rumor has it.
And I don't know if they're going to start counting them like interchangeably, like it would be like no valid, that's one DOS, two, no valid. I don't know if they're doing it like that or if they're keeping it individualized with each individualized category. But it's things like that, and it's coming soon. And I would just say to someone, if you're interested about a certain area of the law, pull the statute. It's on Google.
Right.
You pull the Florida statute, read it. You might not understand what the heck it's saying. We don't understand sometimes. We got to go and read cases and see how a certain ruling on a case interpreted the law. And then you'll read another case that says the complete opposite.
Right.
So that's when the argument comes into place. But just read it. Just read it. Follow the new trends. Follow the Supreme Court rulings, and just educate yourself on it. And that's the best way, I would say, to know the law.
And if we don't want to get too by the book, I'll say follow your gut. most of the times you know when you're doing something wrong. So don't overthink it. You know you're doing something wrong. Just follow your gut. Just avoid it, right? And yeah, stay true. If you're religious, you know you follow the Bible. If you the Quran, just follow your gut. Just 16 commandments, whatever. Follow your gut.
So going off of that from religious, what would you say are what role does accountability play in keeping yourself out of legal trouble, and how does one hold themselves accountable?
You know, accountability, and I keep changing the question. I think accountability needs to be on every level, right? From the officer, from the client, as Vlad mentions, or the defendant, as the state attorney, they call it. The attorneys, right? The judges, accountability across the board, right? There can't be this one person that's expected to uphold this, internalized vision of themselves. I think everyone needs to be aware of their role and what they play in this situation. So it's hard for me to say that a person needs to be accountable. I think that when if they do something wrong, be accountable, right? If you've done something truly wrong, as a person of moral character, just be able to recognize that, right? It doesn't help anybody or yourself in growth. And but again, as an attorney, as a man, I'm trying to continuously find that level of accountability. It's tough, so it's hard for me to answer that because I'm working on it every day. I'm working on that. I'm trying real hard. As I said, all I have is my pug, and I'm accountable to him, and he's accountable to me. And we work on this very, back and forth. So I'm trying, but it's hard for me to answer that because I'm working on it myself.
I would say as far as accountability, I try to lead by example. So if I get something wrong, and I guess I've been like that for as long as I can remember. If I get something wrong, I want to be the first person to tell you I got it wrong. I don't want you to tell me I got it wrong. I'll tell you. I'll come find you. I'll go out my way and find you. Say, hey, I got this wrong. This is how it should be. And I'm doing that because I expect that in return. So that's my take on accountability. And I think everybody should be doing that. Everybody, no matter what you do in life, no matter where you are in life, if you do something wrong, own it. And I think it's important because if you're somebody of influence and you do something wrong, people are following you, people are watching you, and they're probably doing the same thing you did wrong. And you have a duty to those people. You have a duty to the people that find how you live or what you say to be important. You have a duty to tell these people, hey, this was my perspective then. Come to find I'm wrong, and here's why I'm wrong. That's my take on accountability.
So, how can someone rebuild their life after they find themselves in legal trouble? I know initially you said a lot of times when people end up in jail, there's this repeated cycle where that's all they know. But how do you break that cycle from the stance of the person who did it? Not just saying, hey, we shouldn't put them in jail, but now you've been to jail, now what?
Again, it's a tough question. It's a great question, but it's very difficult, right? Everyone's different. In my life, I find that, relying on family, friends, I'm very fortunate. I have a phenomenal family. Hi, Mom, she's watching. I love you. But, I think it's really going back to the basics, right? Finding this routine, being accountable, right? Holding yourself to a standard, whether it be getting up and making your bed in the morning, going to the gym 5 times a week. I mean, whatever it is, finding routine and sticking to it. And having a strong support base that is willing to lift you up. And more importantly, not judge you when you're down, right? I think it's so easy to look at somebody that's made a mistake and point the finger, but again, how often have we made mistakes? So that support base is invaluable. And I think that has been a very fortunate part of my life. I've had a very good family and friends. And I think that's helped me out a lot in ways I can never imagine, so.
I would agree with Andy. The support base is huge. Also, structure. School has helped me a lot. Working has helped me a lot. Keeping the schedule has helped me a lot. Making my bed, playing sports, organized activities. It goes down to the root elementary school. We're taught it at elementary school. 30 minutes a day, right? Have fun. Do something you like. Do it for you. Don't do it for other people. And, love yourself. It comes down to self most of the time, and just treating one better, treating yourself better, and just looking in the mirror and being proud of the person you are. One mistake don't define a person. One action don't define a person. Even though the system may make it that, I don't think it's that. And you shouldn't think that. And I think you should just believe in yourself and take it day by day. Most of the time, we look at the big picture. We want to be something we're not. Just take it day by day and enjoy yourself.
Are you aware of any systems in place that people can go to, like once they do come out of jail and they're trying to get back on their feet? Is there any programs you guys are familiar with?
We have a very large department set up for people that need housing, whether it be, food, jobs, as I mentioned, housing, these things that are common with our clients, not all of them, but some of them. And they do a phenomenal job. I mean, that's their passion. They're there for a reason, and they really work hard to make sure that those that need it get it, right? Or we get them in touch with people who could provide it. And I think that is a massive help, and it really does lend a hand. And even on that, we also talk, in that aspect, mental health, right? Mental health is a huge issue that's often overlooked. And, we're finally getting to a point now where we're really realizing how critical it is. We're seeing people come back in over and over and over a lot, and it's not some kind of mistake, it's mental health, right? So I think addressing that and making sure that that's also taken care of. Physical health, mental health, same thing, right? So we have a lot of resources available for that, and it goes across Palm Beach County, and they are top notch. So
just to piggyback off that, I think we should go back to before the arrest. YMCA. I was a part of Big Brother, Big Sister.
Yeah.
And that was huge for me, where you'll get a mentorship. I remember in middle school, we had a program where we'll connect with the Miami Hurricanes player. And you get your own football player. And they were mentors, and, just being so close to them. One, you see them in person, then the next day you see him on television.
Yeah.
I know this guy. He had lunch with me. He sat down with me. He made me feel special, right? Just coming from a background of a fatherless home. With that, I just not want to be seen or not being seen, not feeling seen. I know that forced me to go different avenues of seeking attention or trying to be something that I'm not. And those programs kind of helped me prepare to where I'm at today.
I feel like that's really good advice, even for parents, just to keep your kids busy, right? Making sure they're involved in these mentorships. And that is so cool. Like, you're having lunch with me and now you're on the TV. I'm famous too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I touched his elbow. But no, that's really cool. And that's a good idea. I feel like something that our culture sometimes lacks is those extracurricular activities. A lot of times there's emphasis on like school, home, school. Yeah. But things like that do keep you out of trouble because kids have a lot of energy. And that is a great way to like avoid messing up your life. But with that, I do want to ask, like, how would you answer that? If someone was like, hey, how do I not mess up my life? How would you answer that?
Which stage?
Yeah, exactly. And what is messing up a life? I mean, a life is a long time.
15, 32,
Yeah, it's 99. I mean, yeah.
Most qualified thing.
I feel like it's a long. I mean, life. I mean, I'm 31, right? I'm I got a lot. Hopefully, a lot more to live, and it's just if you were to make a mistake, I mean, I don't care how old you are. Everyone deserves forgiveness, right? I mean, truly, everyone deserves forgiveness. So in my mind, no one really messes up their life. Maybe society standards, right? If you don't have the car and the boat and the, whatever, right? That could be messing up your life, but finding happiness within your own self and not looking at this false reality set forth by social media and by TV and what have you, and finding happiness within, right? And being content with where you are at and who you are and who's around you and loving that. And obviously being ambitious is important, right? Wanting more is important, but don't fall victim to this unattainable goal that, you know, many of us will never reach, right? I'll probably never have a yacht. As much as I want one really bad, but
still
yeah,
early.
exactly. I got some time. If Dogecoin hits $1, but if or Shiba, but yeah, I'm sorry. But either way, like I said, I think it's finding happiness within yourself and really being, you know, I'm not gonna say complacent because that's has a negative connotation. I think being content.
Yeah.
Being content, right? Being content and really knowing that, you know, you have enough and you have the tools to be happy, you know?
And then in today's day and age, everyone wants to get rich quick. There's no such thing.
Yeah.
Okay, you have to do the work. There's no such thing as getting rich quick. I think, love yours and just be happy with who you are. And sometimes it may be slow, and there will be 1, 2, 3 years where you might not think you're doing something, but you really just taking the right steps in the right direction. And most of the time, that's what's important. And eventually, you'll get to the mountaintop.
That is a tough question to answer. How to not mess up your life,
Right.
right? But if I could think about me personally, my wife knows this too. Just growing up with my brother, like my brother, for instance, he got himself in a lot of trouble. He always used to get himself in a lot of trouble. And I noticed at a very early age, it was the people who was around him. Not to say he didn't have a mind of his own and he didn't take those actions under his own will, but just influence, man, influence. Just the old saying of birds of a feather, just being around the right people. And I think it's tougher as a kid sometimes to be around the right people. And by right people, I'm talking about wise counsel, like adults. Like sometimes as a kid, you're stuck with some of the adults that you're around. But the friends, you can make better choices as far as friends. But as a kid, I would say what I did and what kept me out of a lot of trouble, because even now, like being that I'm from Palm Beach County, I see classmates come in the courtroom as defendants. Certain cases I had, and the public defender might not know, or the private might not know. I'll hop off of it because I know the person, and like I know the person, you know. So I could have easily gone down certain paths, but I was around. Thank God, I was around the right counsel, like the right people. The ROTC teacher that kept me after class and said, "Hey, what are you doing?" The football coach that said, "Hey, you need to run track, or you need to get into wrestling. You need to do something to fill up your time." And I listened. So it's not just about being around wise counsel. It's about actually taking the advice and applying it to your life. And I was fortunate enough to do that because, like I said, I was in the same position as all these people. I got tons of friends who are deported now. I got friends who are incarcerated right now. And friends who just, life isn't going so great for them. And when I say friends, I'm talking about we play football together, we're at each other's houses, like my buddies, you know. And I could have easily been down that path had I not seek wise counsel and actually apply it. So that's what I would say, is to seek wise counsel and to surround yourself with people who are trying to just do better. Because as much as you are an individual, influence is real, you know. So that's my take on it.
I think you said a mouthful, because I'll say my teachers helped me out a lot too growing up. My school, teachers was huge. My teachers kind of grabbed me and took me in and actually believed in me. It was just like, when it comes to education, you're just like, oh, I'm struggling. But just to have that belief and that support system in the school was actually pretty huge.
That's cool. And now you made them proud. You're a whole attorney,
Right?
right? But something that stood out to me that you said was the fact that a lot of times people don't believe that they're going to get caught, right? So, or the getting rich quick scheme, right? So I think that's a big thing too. It's like, even though you may not get caught today or tomorrow, there's a slight chance you'll get caught the day after that, right? And so maybe keeping yourself out of trouble while that's good. Something I did want to ask is, has there been anyone who you've experienced who like not messed up their life, but got in some trouble, and then afterwards were able to turn their lives around? Any stories you guys can share, or good rehab stories? I think he has a case for you.
I'm thinking. I'm trying to think. It's just
Bryson.
yeah. So I had a client that was in some pretty questionable things. He got a break, and I say a break generous. Oh, not it's me. I say a break, and from the state's attorney's position, I think it was justified. But either way, we'll agree to disagree. But he received a very nice offer, and he was able to do what I didn't think was possible. I mean, because he came from a position where it was his mugshot was horrible. The crimes he was alleged to have committed were pretty bad. And on paper, you would look at it and say, this guy he's done, right? He ain't going nowhere. He's done. And he did a 180. He did a 180, and he not only physically looked better, he had a great job. He had a beautiful girlfriend. His life skyrocketed. I mean, everything about his trajectory went 180. So I saw it firsthand, which was pretty awesome to see, and I had a hand in it. I mean, mind you, I had a very minimal hand. It was his hard work and his determination to change, and that's what made the difference. But you know, I got to see the effects and the outcome from his work, and it was really cool. But you know, that's on him, and I have no idea how much work he had to do internally to get to that point. By the time I met him, he had already pretty much gotten over the hump, I think, right? Because there's some stuff that happened before. Not to get too much into it, because I don't want to go into the facts of the case, but he did a 180. I'll say that. It was impressive, yeah.
That's really cool. That's really cool to have some stories like that.
Yeah.
Did you have any plans to share, Gary?
Been an attorney for 2 weeks.
It's still fresh. It's still fresh.
An attorney nonetheless. Okay?
Yes.
All right, he still made it. He got it. All right, that's the most important thing.
And then, Faith, do you have any final words?
I did want to ask, and I don't think we got a chance to ask it. It should have probably been asked in the beginning, but what made you choose to become a public defender? Because I was almost a public defender.
Right.
What made you choose to become a public defender?
I wish I didn't have my shirt. I have chills from this question, okay? I worked private, and I worked in civil law for a year after law school. I interned with the public defender's office my second summer of law school, and it was the most amazing experience of my life. I found passion, I found hard work, I found, purpose. Capital P purpose. This is it, right? And after working in civil for a year, it just didn't have that feeling of draw, right? It was hard to get up in the morning and go to work and have some kind of just that fire was dying, right? It was being extinguished. So I made the jump. And I think I've been a public defender my whole life without knowing it. It's been my fight that I've been fighting for a long time, and it's purpose in the most pure, just essence, purpose, right? And to help people and to provide them something and to give them a chance when they haven't had a chance their entire life, it's amazing, And it could be 1 out of 100 that makes you feel good. It's worth it, right? I mean, one client that makes you feel like it's worth it, my entire career will justify it. So, and I've already had many. So I've had many of these clients that come back, as I mentioned, the one we just talked about. That was like an aha moment. Like here I am, I'm doing something, right? I'm actually helping somebody. As minimal as my role may be, I was part of the story. Yeah. And that to me is worth everything, right? I've searched my whole life for this, and I finally found it, so.
And they're truly blessed to have you.
Yeah.
You do sound like you're right there in your
Yeah, I love it.
To hear that.
Yeah, I can agree with Andrew. It's easy to wake up in the morning. I did find that purpose, but for me, my story was a little different. Like I said, my dad was incarcerated, and I used to go to court with him. And just seeing his fight since I was 6 or 7, then it became a family fight, and then going to the courthouse, it was just, it was a fight nonetheless. I always had a fascination with jail, right? Because you'll be questioning mom, you'll be questioning aunts and uncles, Where's Dad? Dad's in jail. Dad's in jail. What's jail, right? So just going to the courthouse and just seeing the two parties and Dad's going to jail, right? And then growing up and learning the system and learning how you could be a part of that fight and knowing you don't want anyone to experience that pain that you're feeling of being that little kid and being that final goodbye or just having that final goodbye of saying Dad's going to jail, right? Dad's going to jail, and how do you prevent that? And just finding ways to like help individuals just eliminate that void, even if you can't, right? Even if you can't completely eliminate it, just let's not make it a habit.
Yeah.
Let's not make it a common thing where you just keep going where it's just carrying those empty years.
Yeah.
And that pushed me through high school, that pushed me through college, and eventually to law school, where my passion, it's just that fire just grew inside of me, and I just kept growing and pushed me through law school, pushed me through the bar exam, and I just kept fighting. I'm still here. I love to fight. I'm here.
And that's really cool. I could totally see you being a voice for your community, and your story is a beautiful story too. So I imagine that will inspire kids as well. But yeah. So.
I think I kind of mentioned, I almost became a prosecutor. I'm not a prosecutor, but a public defender. Even going into law school, so my end goal is to go into immigration and then sit as a judge. That's my 5-10-year plan, solidified. But going into law school, I always knew I'm going to be a public defender. And a lot of it has to do with just background, people I grew up with, watching my brothers struggle, friends, their struggle, and understanding how the law can be weaponized to, lock somebody up. And because of that, I wanted to be not a prosecutor, but I keep saying prosecutor. I wanted to be a public defender. And as you know, like I said, I'm a God-fearing man. I pray for what I got. And I thank him for what I don't got, because that means I don't need it. And applying for all these positions, when I got the position here, I immediately understood why he didn't allow me to become a PD. It's because I'm a prosecutor. Like, through and through, I'm a prosecutor. And I think what I'm trying to do for the community is best served as a prosecutor. And I think as a prosecutor, I can do some of the things that I probably would have done as a public defender. Like I said, if something comes across my desk and if something is wrong, like if this is not right, I have the power to, to deal with it accordingly. And at my core, I love making things right. And I think as a prosecutor, I get to make things right. I get to make sure the victim is made whole. I get to make sure that I can address this defendant's issue and hold this defendant accountable. I think in this position here, I'm better suited as far as my quality than who I am as a person, but I was this close to becoming a public defender.
Still have you, man. You'll come back. If you ever want to come, I'm just saying, man. So we always have room for you. So
I was gonna say it's no accident.
Yeah.
The Lord orders our steps, and we can tell you are perfectly suited for your role. But I did want to thank you for sitting in with us. I am gonna go ahead and welcome back the pastor.
See you at home.
So welcome back, Pastor. Welcome.
Thank you. Let's give them a big applause, please. Big applause. Wow. That was a really amazing, very good topic on how to avoid missing your future. That we have seen 4 great professionals from different areas. And if they can make it, you can make it too, as a young folks. And thank you all for being here. thank you for doing a great job. Thank you. Thank you, Sister Miss LORDIE, for being the co-host tonight. Thank you, Andrew, for being here tonight. Thank you, Jerry, for being also tonight. Thank you, Vlad, for being here. You have done a great job. Great job. Thank you all. And this is what we are doing for the community, to avoid the young people going to, end up in bad situation. I'm going to mention 5 things in addition. First of all, how do I can get over messing my life? First, you need to understand your mistakes. Most people have made mistakes. We all have made mistakes. Who have made mistakes? We all have made mistakes. But we need to learn. You have to understand your mistake. Why I have made that mistake? Question that. Secondly, take time to grieve for your mistake.
That's good.
Of course. Yeah. Now you understand your mistake, and secondly, you take time to grieve for what you have done wrong. Thirdly, express your feeling. Most of people, they have made mistake. Then they hide that. Express your feeling. Have somebody to talk with. This is what I have done in my past. How can I get over from that? And 4, accept your past mistakes. Most of them we try to blame people, to put the blame on the police officers, and your parents, and other people. You need to accept your mistakes. You have made mistakes. This is my mistake, and accept that. And finally, learn from your mistakes. So if you apply those 5 points tonight, you will see yourself different, you have different mindset, and you will see life from different perspectives. Once again, thank you for being here. I have no words to thank you guys.
Thank you.
Again, let's applaud them. Oh my God. Again and again, this is what we are doing in Connection Plus to help people to address the situation, address the topic. Because we love people. This is what we can do to help them. And thank you all for watching Connection Plus. It was a pleasure to be here tonight. And we give you the next Thursday, the same platform, the same time. Connection Plus, 8 p.m. next week. May God bless you and have a wonderful weekend. Thank you for being here, guys. From the bottom of my heart, we thank you all.
Thank you.
I have to thank my brother, my technician. Oh my God! Before I go, big thank you to Engineer Bobby Jolivet. Un grand merci, n'est-ce pas, à Bobby Jolivet, n'est-ce pas, qui font un grand travail extraordinaire, qui fait immense arriver la caillou. Thank you, Mr. Bobby Jolivet, Engineer Bobby Jolivet. Un grand merci aussi à Sir Alex bien-aimé. Sir Alex, welcome. And welcome, Sir Alex. Et merci, Frère Alex, qui l'a venu célébrer ensemble avec nous à soya, pour nous capable aider les jeunes, n'est-ce pas, gagner un but avec vie, tout n'est pas fini, capable mettre une mistake, mais tout n'est pas fini. OK? Maintenant, nous, au même qui parle, qui a regardé l'émission à soya, partagez-les sur WhatsApp, sur YouTube, et Facebook, et fait petit tout, puisque les garçons entendent et regardent l'émission ça. If you watch me right now, I invite you to share it on Facebook, YouTube, and so forth, to let other people to watch it. That will be good for them. May God bless you all. I love you all.
Moi, c'est Jean-Enoch Bruni, pasteur de la première église de Dieu de West Palm Beach, First Haitian Church of God of West Palm Beach. Lem la kay moi chaque jeudi et chaque vendredi, commencer 8h pour 9h dans la soirée, c'est Connexion Plus moi branché. Moi recommander fortement pour capable brancher tout Connexion Plus avec pasteur Benjamin chaque jeudi et chaque vendredi, sorti 8h pour arriver 9h. Que bon Dieu bénisse.
ou même qui c'est ouvrier CEA ou qui aspire à faire ministère dans l'église locale, moi gen bon jan nouvelle pour. MISED, Mathetes Institute School of Evangelism and Discipleship, ap offrir yon série diplôme spécialisé dans discipline tankou, leadership l'église, éducation chrétienne, évangélisation, apologétique chrétienne, interpréter la Bible, counseling familial, présentation études bibliques, Ancien ak Nouveau Testament, nan souci pour bien équiper ouvrier kap fait ministère ou qui vle fait ministère l'église ak yon dynamique sans pareil. Nan MISED, nous fait l'école yon l'autre gens et nous croyons tout le monde ka apprendre et tout le monde doit bien apprendre pour faire ministère Seigneur avancer. N'a invité tout chrétien haïtien tout côté sous la terre. Vin étudier Bible dans bon timamite ak yon équipe professeur qui non seulement gagne en maîtrise pour pipiti, mais qui chargé ak expérience dans affaires enseignement. C'est un programme hybride qu'a fait en direct yon fois par semaine sur une plateforme tant que Zoom, Team, Google Meet et puis tout chaque étudiant a bien un tableau de bord pour le bambiler et faire devoir quiz ak examen. C'est là tout, y a bien accès à tout document et ressources pour tout kouyo. En plus, document principal chaque grain coup. Kouyo a fait en créole ak en français et très bientôt en anglais pendant 12 grains mois seulement. Qui pi bel cadeau qu'a offri tout ak ministère bon Dieu que préparer pour servir royaume Christ là ak excellence et ak passion. Pour inscrire au MISED et joindre plus de détails et informations, seulement tapez mathetesinstitute.com. Yundilot, MISED, une école pour étudier la Bible avec excellence et passion. Nouvelle session.
Moi-même 16h, depuis jeudi, vendredi 8h arrivé, je vais faire l'autre bagaille que garder Connexion Plus. C'est chita pour me garder Pasteur Benjamin. Connexion Plus.
Yon nan pi gros cadeau yon moun ka bay tête li c'est l'el prend service nan yon professionnel là. Dans ce sens là, si ou nan Florida ou bien dans quel que soit l'autre état yo, m'a préféré un Stallone Analyst qui nan tête Stallone Multi Services qui gen plus passé 10 l'année depuis la bay communauté à service avec un pile courtoisie. Quel que soit service ou besoin dans affaires immigration tant que résidence, TPS, asile, citizenship, carte travail la trier, c'est sans problème. Ou besoin de traduire un document dans quel que soit langue non, notarier papier, appliqué pour full stamp avec un pile l'autre service encore, relais Stallone dans 561 971 95 79. Stallone Multi Services en chita dans deux adresses 5700 Lequeford, suite 310-3, Green Acres, Florida 33463. Deuxième location c'est dans 500 South Australian Avenue, suite 524 West Palm Beach, Florida 33401 dans Downtown West Palm Beach. Relais pour un rendez-vous dans 561 971 95 79.